Fair. Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we help families simplify the college planning process. And for the month of February, we've been working with Donna Sakabu, and she's been helping us really talk about the college admissions, what things are important, what are not. And today, this is, of course, one of my favorite subjects, talking about jobs and how they help or don't help on college applications. So, Donna, hello.
Hello, good morning. I'm here in California. It's early, but I have had one cup of coffee, so I'm ready to go. But
Perfect.
jobs, I'm a big fan, and I talk to students, I talk to parents, and I call it like the OG activity. Back in my day, everyone had a part-time job, and maybe they did one activity, at school, and it was just the expectation, and most people did have a part-time job. So. Uh, as time's gone on, we've moved away from that quite a bit. The students I work with, they often have so many activities, and they're taking AP this and AP that and honors whatever, and like no time. So it's been harder for them to squeeze that in. But what I saw during the pandemic is it was a chance for the parents to say, hey, I want you off the computer. Go see if you can work. There were a lot of places open across the country during the pandemic with safety precautions, and students were like eager to get out of the house. And I loved talking with them about their jobs. And it was such a difference. I found that was like the best activity that I saw for students.
Donna, I got to tell you, I mean, as you know, I'm a huge proponent of kids working during high school and college, by the way, which is
Yeah.
a whole nother show. But,
Amen.
because I think they just get so much out of it. And, one of the things that I keep hearing out there is for people that are looking to hire newly graduated college students, that they're looking for a lot of the soft skills, which is things like, being able to interact with the public and having relationships and networking. And so I think this is such a cool topic because, the kids that start working early start to develop those skills.
They
So,
do.
yeah. So I'm really excited to hear too what colleges are thinking, when it's on an application and, how important of a role that plays for them.
Well, let me just tell you that I know from touring colleges and having two sons have gone through college, their colleges are having to do more to train students in the soft skills because they don't have them. So a high school job gives the students an edge. And on a college application, there are a lot of colleges know like the student has to show up on time. Well, they took the initiative to get a job. In fact, when I've spoken with students who are like, yeah, I'm looking for a job, I go, have you called? Have you gone in again?
Right.
Have you applied for another job? So just having them realize like they don't just throw that out there and wait for the world to show up at their door. They have to be proactive. And that's a new thing for them, that learning how to do that. And that it's okay to make a phone. Oh my gosh, to make a phone call. What do you say on a phone call? Because they're used to texting.
Right.
Yeah, that's how, I'm not kidding. It's a whole training. I'm like, what do you
Oh,
say?
Donna. Yeah. Or God forbid to actually walk in a place and fill out an application, if they even let you, by the way.
Yeah,
And
that's
to,
true.
like,
That's true.
do the eyeball thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's so initiative. It shows initiative. It shows that they're showing up on time, because if you don't show up on time, they're going to can you and get the other kid who's eager to work. And then working as a team. And what I was thinking about last night about my experience working, and it gave me a lot of perspective, because some of the jobs I had, including summer jobs, there were people there that was how they earned their living. And it made me really, it humbled me, and also made me really appreciate that I had this opportunity for an education. So I think there's huge value in that. Also, that colleges know you've had a taste of the real world, and that and education is an opportunity and privilege. The other is that skin in the game. Now, back in my day, a job you could pay for a lot of things for college. Not so much anymore.
Right.
But if maybe, the family talks about, your books and you're spending money and whatever, but there's skin in the game. The student has an investment in their education. And I think that's important. And colleges know that too. And then just interacting with the public, huge. Life skills, soft skills. And I'll often ask my students, like, oh, like if it's like Starbucks, let's say, or whatever, have you had to deal with crappy customers? Oh, yes.
Right.
Mr. Smith doesn't like his latte, and he never likes his latte, and how do you deal with that? And it's super important. So many valuable lessons. And also, they're not often doing the glory things. It could be, tidying up the bathrooms.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So like one of the things, just, I think, a question that's a lot of people would ask, okay, so when you're putting together, okay, what do I put on my college application, and you're working in the Common App and you say, okay, like one thing that I used to hear when I first got trained in college admissions is like that they want to see things that you had initiative and you did, and you continued and you didn't quit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times you hear parents who say, well, or students who will say to me, well, because I got all these AP classes now, my parents had me quit the basketball team and stop doing my job so that I can focus on schoolwork. And I've heard that is a very bad thing to, it makes it seem like you're a quitter or something, and that you couldn't handle your course load or whatever. Maybe that makes it look like you're not committed to like able to handle the course load of college. And so does that mean, like, as you're going through, like maybe you start freshman and sophomore year with like 5 things you're doing and then whittle it down to 3 things or whatever? But I mean, is it important to not quit and to keep doing the things?
Right. When you look at the myriad of activities, yes, it's important to stick with something. I will say that, like, I think sometimes, they've got a lot going on. Some students, I think, when do you ever sleep? And truly, some of them are sleep deprived. I get texts sometimes in the middle of the night, and I think, oh my gosh,
right.
Their brains are still forming.
Well, that's part of the thing. You don't need to be doing 10 things, right?
No.
But you need to do some things, 1 or 2 things at least for the whole 4 years. If you
right. And I think really it's a balance, and it's a family conversation, but sometimes parents want, like, they're so focused on the grades and the students taking so many AP classes, maybe not as many AP classes, but still keep up with those activities, whether it's a job, performing arts, speech and debate, sports, you name it. There's a lot of activities they participate in, some multiple. And or if they have so many, I had a niece who was a go-getter from birth. And she ended up at a pretty prestigious university with a low admit rate. She was go-getter, but even in high school, she had to go, okay, I'm giving up this one activity. I want to focus on these.
And I think that's the important thing to say, is that as long as you have 1 or 2 or 3 things that you did for 4 years and ended up with a leadership position or an award or whatever, and that can be a job, and that can be church, and that can be whatever. As long as you got those, it's okay to quit the other things, right? You don't even need to mention them. Right.
So it's really about we talked about this last week. What's meaningful?
Right.
What's meaningful?
It sounds like having a job now is a little bit like a standout position, where it's a little bit different.
I think.
Absolutely. I think it shows things, and people think, oh, what would a college know about having jobs? But as you brought up earlier, that's how it used to be. Colleges were expecting that. And so they haven't forgotten. They still value it. They still know.
They do. Is, right? And those soft skills, because they're getting students on campus who don't have them. Who the focus has been, I've seen this, and well-meaning parents, all parents want the best for their children. I mean, it's just, when I work with parents, I totally get that. But,
absolutely.
But when the student doesn't know how to do the basics, like laundry, like, go shopping for groceries, even I'm not joking, but, boil water, let's say, and how to even to do emails or make phone calls, because parents sometimes are running interference, well-meaning, because they want their student to get the best grades. But really, we need to have them try develop these life skills, start with the basics.
Right.
Carve out a little time for that.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
I'll add one more thing. So one thing I think this was mentioned earlier, but just wanted to say it again. Students have trouble figuring out what to write in their college essays, in their application essays. And this would be a different thing to write about a job you had. It's just different. The college admissions officers want to hear something other than the story of your sports team winning the big game or whatever. Right?
Yes.
So
yes. I had this injury I had to overcome, and
exactly all those traditional things. Right.
Right.
And also that if you have something to do at regulated times during the week or whatever, it makes you a more organized person. And
absolutely.
Often you get more of your other stuff done. You get more studying done when you have that. I think we all learned that in college. That semester when you had the lightest course load or whatever is when you did the worst at classes because you didn't have enough to do. So you didn't organize yourself and you ended up studying. Okay, anyway, so back to you, Kristin.
Okay, I'm going to throw my fun fact in there because as Bobby knows, I love my facts.
Yes.
And that is 15 hours of work is about the optimum for kids in high school and college so that they can keep their grades up, still be able to work. And it actually makes them, typically they have better grades if they're working 15 hours a week. Now, keep in mind when I say that, it can mean work, it can mean a sport, it can mean all the things we've talked about. So.
15 hours of something. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, football players, they're probably not working in the fall. So
right.
And they are working, but in a different way.
Yeah, they're working at football.
But I would say on campus, I'll speak to college, even though we're talking more about high school and college admissions. Get a job on campus because that week that you have, 3 papers, 5 midterms, and you're like losing your mind, they are flexible. They'll go, we know it's a bad week. Come back next week. Yeah. There's flexibility. Plus, being on campus, my younger son worked in the school he was in, the School of Business, and he was right there, and he was in the middle of. He knew what was going on.
Right, you get to know the professors better, and all the things, right?
And the advisors, and everybody knew who he was. It was very sweet when he did it for 3.5 years, and when he left, I mean, they gave him this really sweet award. But the whole thing was he knew what was going on. And so when you're privy to what's coming down the pike or whatever. And so, but just even there's always the on-campus little restaurants and things, great, or library. That's an easy one. You always hear about.
Sure.
You can do your homework and then just people in. So they're very flexible, and you don't have to worry about your car breaking down if you're living on campus. Yeah.
So what about summer jobs while you're in high school?
Summer jobs or summer activities?
Yeah, or summer activities. What about that?
So my big thing is purposeful summer. This isn't, I know maybe they've worked so hard during the school year, but this is a great time to explore careers. And that could be maybe taking a course. Yes, it could be a community college course. Have either of you heard of Coursera?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Coursera is awesome. And I've had students, I learned so much from them, the different classes they've taken. And I'll show them how to search, how to do that. And short term, and they've taken some really interesting classes that affirmed what they thought they might want to major in.
Absolutely. You can go find out what your first year, chemistry or whatever, or, robotics class in college would be like. I've taken a few of those, and they're intimidating and fun and great.
And I say summer because they're short term. Don't try to attempt this during the school year. Do this in the summer. And those are terrific. And I think sometimes with the small fee, they can even get a certificate. And some have included that, like uploaded those to the Common App. But the value in that, or informational interviews, job shadowing, a lot of families will talk about internships. There are some for high school students. It's really more in college. But you could do community service that might relate to your, certainly with medical things, a lot that relate to career. So great time to explore careers, part-time job, or some students are gifted in math, or they are I had a student who played the flute, and she offered lessons in the summer. And making some money and using the skills. And she wrote about figuring out how to teach students to play the flute.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's so great. It works for everything, right?
Yeah, it was fun essays. I had one student who worked in a bakery, and she was so talented. It was one of those nice upscale bakeries, and she was so talented that they made her the lead, and she was the trainer in high school. She was training people older than her. And she realized, like, not everybody learns the same way. No. And that you can get to the same outcome, but sometimes a little different process. Well, with baking, you have to be careful, but, you know, but she realized, like, oh, she saw this one young woman she was training did things a little differently than her, but it turned out okay. Those are valuable lessons when you're for college and for life. You know,
I think another cool thing about all of that, Donna, that you've been talking about is you can figure out, is this truly a hobby for me? You know, like you talked about the girl that taught flute. She might love playing the flute, but once she has experience like teaching people, she might go, yeah, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. Right.
Yeah.
So she can take that off her list of things that she might want to consider for a career.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a way to affirm or go, nope, not for me.
Absolutely.
Okay, so purposeful summer can be a way to sort of investigate directions you might go in the future and whittle down and focus in on then, as a result, what you might really want to be interested in. That's amazing.
Yes. And if I have, you know, if I have a student like junior year who hasn't, I have a student this year who has not had a lot of exposure to an area that seems to have an aptitude for. So I said, this summer you are doing a program related to this field. You need to get that exposure to go yay or nay.
Right. And we're not talking about 40 hours a week over the summer. We're talking about directed, purposeful things that will help you answer some questions and that you can talk about and write about and give you experience and point you in the right direction. And you can still have a very fun summer while doing that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'm like, you got three months or whatever, plenty of time. Yes, you'll still see your friends. You can still go on vacation, but yes. But being intentional and planning for sure.
Okay, so it sounds like it's important to put that on your college resume that you've worked. And I love all this talk about, you know, using this over the summer and, you know, just figuring things out. Good conversation, guys.
Absolutely. And of course, you know, you can always contact Kristin and ask questions about her college planning, you know, and her career identification strengths, you know, classes and one-on-one that she does. I'm always happy to answer questions about tutoring. And what about you, Donna?
Comprehensive college planning for summer. Like, what are you going to do this summer? I can help you with that, which will then help your applications. So great to have a conversation about
and
that.
So this is our last time, you know, we've done this all of the month of February. So how should students connect with you? How can students work with you? Like, what sort of things do you do?
I do comprehensive, where it's like juniors right now, we're getting going on academic planning for senior year. Yes, you will take that fourth year of math if you want to do engineering kind of thing. Right. Summer planning, in June, we will just start right in with essays, brainstorming and talking about what are you doing and activities. I also have a fast track, which is a little more accelerated in starting in July. If I haven't already started working with a student, then we start then July into the fall, just to go, okay, we've got to get this done. Here we go. But I have a website, which is on the streaming banner down there. And all my contact info is there, and there's a contact form. Also, a lot of resources on my website. So check that out.
And you work with students online through Zoom, so they can be
only via Zoom. The pandemic really showed all of us that model works very well.
It sure does,
especially for this age group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I will definitely be steering my students your way, because it's, you know, it's one thing to get a good, you know, SAT or ACT score, but you need all these other things too to get the knowledge, right? Yeah. You can't just
absolutely.
Yeah, you need all of it. So that's great. Thank you so much for all the time you spent with us this month.
Thank you for having me.